What is up, Flesh and Blood players? Welcome to another Team Snapdragons video. Today I am joined by a very special guest, Mr. Paul Van Gijsssel from across the world, as it were. Paul has taken the time to kind of sit down with us today and kind of interview some questions for Champions of Rathe and talk a bit about his journey with Flesh and Blood. So, first question, obviously, who is Mr. Paul Van Gijsssel? What have you done? Why should the people care about Mr. Paul Van Gijsssel?
Hello everyone. I think most people know me from winning Calling Valencia and Calling London. I'm just a Dutch guy. Started playing Flesh and Blood in 2021. I got into the game because I thought Limited would be interesting. I did a lot of Magic before that and I was kind of bored with it. And I saw like the video from the professor of Tolarian Community College, and I saw like attack react, defense react, and I was like, oh, that looks so cool. So that's how I got into the game, and enjoying it to this day.
Yeah, so definitely kind of a unique aspect of Flesh and Blood, you know, that reaction speed and kind of how that ties in mechanically and flavorfully.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to take you back to the beginning, like, what was the actual process like that? So you mentioned you watched a video on Tolarian Community College. How did you actually start playing Flesh and Blood? What was the process like? Did you like show up to your first armory? Like, what was that experience like?
So I was at the time I was in university and I was studying, but I had a hard time concentrating. And I just was distracted and I saw that video and I was like, okay, let me just look up on internet, like how's the game, how's the community, and instantly I saw like a big Dutch community called Blitzed at the time, and I saw they had done nationals and I saw pictures and it all looked very, very cool. So I think I joined a Discord and there I asked like, hey, are there any limited events in the Netherlands, because it looks interesting. I want to go there. And then a current friend of mine, Jasper, reached out to me and said like, yeah, there's an armory in like an hour away from me. You can borrow a deck. So I went there to that armory and instantly felt like the vibes were like very different from Magic the Gathering. Felt very homey and much more friendly. And it was during the Blitz meta, so the first match I played was against OTK Viserai, and I died at turn 2, I think. But I instantly was like, oh my god, this deck is sick, like, I have to try this. So that's how I started, and actually that week I bought my first CC deck, also OTK Viserai, and then the week after I went to a Pro Quest. I did very poorly, went like 2-4 or something. But I was so hooked on the game and I had this magical feeling of like discovered something that I was willing to spend a lot of time into. And that carried me throughout my whole career, as you can say. Yeah.
So no, definitely like the warmth of the community kind of bringing you into the game there. That's kind of really lovely to hear. So your first result that I could kind of find was the top 8 of Battle in Belgium, obviously close to your home in the Netherlands. In 2023. Can you talk a bit about that first result and what it kind of meant to you as a player?
Yeah, that was I think the first big event, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg. We call it the Benelux area that we kind of got. I think it was even before calling Utrecht, so it was a really big deal. It was a very big tournament. I think there were like 225 players, which was huge for the time. And I played Fi there in that tournament. It was my first top 8, and actually a friend filmed my reaction. I was like cheering super loudly, because it did mean a lot to me. Because in Magic I never really had any results. I was like, at Friday Night Magic I went 3-0 sometimes. That was already a big accomplishment for me. But on GP level and on a Pro Tour level, I never played the Magic Pro Tour, and I think I made one time a day 2 at the GP. But apart from that, no real results. Well, I really wanted those results. and I finally found a game where it came more naturally than in Magic. So yeah, it meant a lot to me, and it was great.
Yeah, so definitely kind of like, I think that was part of the draw to Flesh and Blood for you then. Like, I feel like Magic, you know, in the last like 10 years or so, probably has had a lot less experiences for competitive play as well.
Yeah.
So I guess Fab's competitive circuit also is like another aspect of getting to participate at that level and also get to see success at that level.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to hear, like, because we had Premier Play so early, that like it also tied into getting people invested into the game.
Yeah, for sure. And also less of a frustration with Magic. You would have these games where you're just struggling to see where you made a misplay or where you did something wrong. And I feel like in Flesh and Blood, in any game, there's so many more interesting moments where you could have taken a different line. That feeling of agency I really like with Flesh and Blood that Magic maybe less so has.
Yeah. So following Belgium, you had a bit of a break before your next result. What was kind of happening during that like rest of 2023, kind of early 2024 period in your life?
I think I was still studying at university. I went through many studies in university, but yeah, like I said, it never really clicked with me. Also had a hard time in high school, like focusing on the subjects. I always was like, playing Hearthstone. It's like I had like an hour bike ride to my school, and I just leaned on my steering wheel and I played Hearthstone on my phone. So I was always super obsessed with card games, but I just couldn't get to do anything productive like in university. So I always have massive respect for people that finished it. But yeah, I was just slacking a bit, like, to be honest. I was trying to do university, but I was essentially like fooling myself that I would finish it, and in the end I was just playing Flesh and Blood. I was playing as many armories as possible because back then you could still qualify for Pro Tours with XP. So I was doing that a lot. I was like, I had like student loans and I had like free public transportation, and I was like going to every possible armory to get as much XP as possible to qualify.
Yeah, that's a really unique experience, I think, to the Netherlands. Like this mental picture of like someone riding a bike like throughout the street. Like obviously it sounds insane to anyone who hasn't lived in the Netherlands, but like it's so like picturable to me, like just leaning over playing Hearthstone on the way to like anywhere. It's like I think a lot of Flesh and Blood players really relate to that idea of like finding Fab like easier to relate to and kind of focus on as like a source of enjoyment as well than university. And I think a lot of the time people can kind of find that passion for something that they kind of struggle to find with studies and stuff, you know. Obviously such an interesting time in your life post like high school and everything. So finding a passion like Fab is really something that can really help to tie you into the rest of the world, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It really helped me.
Yeah. So your next big posting was obviously second place at the Calling for Florence Rosetta Limited. So we're seeing a bit more success on the limited side of things now, which was won by Jacob Clements. How did this kind of stack up, like compared to Belgium, as a big like breakout moment for you? What was that kind of like?
Yeah, so yeah, that was a big deal to me because during that time I was actively like pursuing my first calling top 8 because I never done it, and I really wanted to like prove myself essentially that I could do it. And at the time it felt like an impossible feat, and after that I took a small break because I wasn't doing very well mentally. Like I said, I didn't do well in university, and in our culture there's a lot of stress put on, like you have to finish university, you have to get a degree. If you don't, you're a dropout, you're a failure. It doesn't really go well for you. So I was feeling that pressure a lot, and I was kind of lost in my life. And like I said, I didn't really do anything apart from playing Flesh and Blood. And that actually caused me to fall into substance abuse because in college, I usually when I couldn't do anything, I just did that with my friends, and it wasn't a healthy way. And I'd fallen so much into it that I was actually very addicted to them, and I could only get motivated by that substance. So I took a break from Flesh and Blood like for 3 months, maybe even longer. I don't remember that period very well, and I missed like a lot of events. And then Calling Florence was my first event coming back after the break, because I was like, I should focus on Flesh and Blood more, and I shouldn't do this substance thing. And Rosetta Limited just came out, and I drafted a ton on Runaways, and it was actually so nice to see like, oh, I'm improving at this draft format, and I wasn't really caring about winning anymore. I was just caring about like, oh, how can I improve? I was just feeling more mentally clear as well. So then in Calling Florence, I just opened a broken pool with, I think it was like 10 foot tall and an arcane seeds and a lot of decompose. And I went 7-1 on day one, which was like one of my best results at a calling so far. And I actually got a bit lucky because it was a small calling, because it was after Worlds Osaka. So there was only one draft pot on day 2. So since I was 7-1, I only have to go, I think 1-2 to make top 8. So the night before, I was feeling like a lot of pressure. I was like, okay, 1-2. That's like, I drafted this set 100 times. I usually go 2-1 at least, so that must be doable. But then the draft pot itself, I just totally train wrecked because I was so nervous, and I actually lost my first game. Then I played Francesco Giorgio, now teammate of mine, who was like the best limited player at the time, and that was my win in. I had to win that one, or it would be very bad, because I had to lose like the last round to make it in on tiebreakers. And he had like a train wrecked Assidio draft, and I even misplayed because I didn't use my well grounded to stop like a surge effect of the arcane spell that you can play in extra time. So I took like 8 damage out of nowhere, but it didn't matter in the end. And I made 8, I think, on tiebreaker. So I was like ecstatic to have made my first calling top 8. And I was already okay, I'll just take this as a bonus. I'll just play all these games, just not feeling any pressure. And that actually allowed me to play even better. So I won I won an Assidio game, I won an Aurora Mirror, and then against Jacob in the finals. I was really close to winning that as well, but I didn't have enough lightning starters in my deck. So I had this turn where I had Jacob like on the defense. He had to block out everything, and I dropped my hand with full tempo, and I have no go again, and I can only send Hocus Pocus. And I remember that moment. I'm playing Hocus Pocus, IPing 3 cards, and Jacob is just like there, like. Okay. After I said to Jacob, I said like, how did that feel for you? So like, that felt like I just won 7k. It was like, because he said like, if I had sent 1 more damage that turn, he would have died. So it was so weird. But at the time, I just took it as like, oh, I made my calling finals at my first top 8, so it felt great. But then a few weeks after, I saw Jacob traveling the world to play Flesh and Blood, and I was like, oh my god, if I just that one turn would have gone better for me. Imagine that I could have done that too. So it meant a lot to me, and it set the tone for like the future results, because since then I have looked up a lot to Jacob, naturally, because he won and he showed that it was possible traveling the world for Flesh and Blood. It was a big deal for me.
So I want to take a second to kind of process that and to kind of thank you for opening up about mental health and kind of how your experience with that and how that kind of helped that. I think it's, as a community, it's something we could do a much better job kind of talking about and addressing. But I've really got to kind of highlight how kind of inspiring that is as a story. You know, you kind of hit a bit of a low point in your life, and then you really just come back out of it in a better headspace. And then even the tournament run itself, I mean, you start off on such a good place, and then you talked a lot about your anxiety during this day too, and kind of how that affected your draft game. And then just that entire run is just like incredibly inspiring, I've got to say, from like an external perspective. So thank you for kind of sharing your experience with that, because I think that's really that is a really, really special story.
Thank you.
And I think it's something that you should be really proud of.
I really hope that's mainly the obsessive part that I have, and it kind of correlates with the substance abuse. Like, I see a lot of people in Flesh and Blood have that same obsessiveness with the game and everything that they're doing. So why I'm sharing it is that I hope someone who is maybe going through the same thing will see okay, this is normal. This is a normal personality trait to have, and you can also overcome it.
Yeah, and I think that's really noble and kind of inspiring to see it. And then obviously we've kind of seen you on a bit of a meteoric rise since then. I think you hit this kind of comeback moment in your life, and it really just kind of kept the momentum from there. I mean, end of 2024 was Calling Florence, and then following this, we get to 2025 and we see you top Pro Tour London on Aurora, which is just that's just an incredible path to watch, going from second at a Calling to top 8 at Pro Tour in a really, really short period of time comparatively. Do you think that this really linear kind of improvement was correlated to particular improvements in mental space or in play or your process? Did all of this kind of line up to start improving at the same time, or do you think there was one aspect in particular that you really improved during this time?
I think for sure the thing I improved on the most, which is a bit paradoxical maybe, but it's previously I wanted the results so much that it just clouded my play. I cared so much about winning that I got way too emotional during games, and I just did weird stuff, I think, to facilitate it. And in Pro Tour London, I also got a lot more opportunities because I was invited by Ian Zhang for a testing team, which really helped me because in the end, Bartosz Szemba gave me his list, and that allowed me to top 8 because at the time, and still, I'm not a very good deck builder, so that greatly helped. But also for my own personal development, I was way less emotional when it came to games, and I could care less about the result during the game, which allowed me to just focus more on the things I could control. So after the games, I was less I guess salty is a word, but also I didn't really care about the result as much as just making the correct moves, and that really was big in London, except for my winning in, when immediately it was if I win this, I make my first Pro Tour top 8, and then it gets then the emotion and nerves get a bit back. But luckily in my winning in, I high rolled the game so hard that it didn't matter. But it was kind of also a good it kind of helped me understand okay, you need to be more stoic and calm during games, and great things will happen. So yeah.
I think it's definitely it kind of ties back to that idea of playing to win rather than playing to not lose, if that makes sense.
I get
it. Really kind of sounds like you really clicked into that mentality and really understood it. And of course, not many people in the world have top 8 at a Pro Tour at Flesh and Blood. I think it's sub 70 people at this stage. What did that kind of mean to you personally, especially as someone who looked up at this idea of playing Magic competitively?
Yeah, it meant a lot. I was always dreaming of that moment when I played Magic. I always watched the documentaries, the vlogs, I know there was this documentary Magic where there was Reed Duke who said I was always going 3-0 at my local game store, but then I just wanted more, and I always had that desire as well, but I just never could do it. So to get that acknowledgement of okay, I could do it if I just put my mind to it better and stayed calm better. Yeah, that meant a lot to me. But I guess that.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to capture that kind of experience in words. But we then like later in the year see you win calling Valencia on Gravy Bones. It's like a pretty massive achievement, and also I think you were probably one of the first people to like win with the deck post Tipple ban, and obviously everything that came along with that, and the deck kind of restructuring. But it's also just really awesome to see you kind of graduate from that top 8 position at these events, like that top 8 at London, second at Florence. What did it kind of mean to you to go from top 8ing these events to becoming first and being, you know, the person to win this event?
Yeah, it meant a lot because I felt like, okay, what's the next logical step after top 8ing London? I was like, okay, I have to actually win an event now. But that's always has seemed so impossible because actually, like, getting to top 8 is already hard, but then you have to win 3 matches there, and it's usually against like very good players. So it like objectively takes a lot of luck to win as well. And in calling Valencia, I was heavily considering Syndra because it was the calling after Worlds. But it was so done with Syndra and playing all the mirrors, and it just was super. I was a bit bored by it, honestly. And I was like, oh, but Gravy is so much fun. I'll just take the fun deck over the, like, in my mind, objectively better deck, and hope it goes well. And at that calling, I actually felt like in the games, like I got so lucky, and I was like, okay, this, like, every game this is happening. There must be something going on because this is what you need to win a calling. You need to get lucky, but also play well, of course. And I just kept in my losses. I just kept making mistakes that I could otherwise have won the game. And on day 2, my first round, for example, my opponent forgot his deck. It's like the craziest stuff. So because he forgot his deck, I just got an instant win. And then I had to win 4 more rounds. I had like a Gravy mirror that went extremely well. I played a Mario that I got a perfect fearless when he cleared my jump for 6, and he just conceded on the spot when he was at 20. And then I played a Kano who whiffed on his combo turn, and then I played a Reinar who decided to fully fatigue me, blocking with blood rushes, and that was like the scariest game of the day because I sided out all my whalers, all my anti-fatigue stuff, so I had to, like, without any tools, had to win fatigue. And then the top 8 was also crazy because in the top 8, my first match was Jacob Clemens, and I had this like mental block that I was like, yeah, but Jacob Clemens is so much better than me. He won the Calling Florence, and then he traveled the world, and I didn't. And I had this whole story in my head of why he was essentially the better player, and I couldn't win. And he also decided to fatigue me with Mario because he presented quick dodge flexors, and I only noticed until turn 3. And then in the end, I think he blocked with his tunic while he needed to resource to clear Whaler. So he made like a slight misplay, but that costed him the whole game. And from there on, I was like, okay, now I need to go through. And then top 4, I had a turn 0 Amulet versus Osidio. And then in the finals, of course, I had the defense reaction hitting allies of the top. So of course, I got extremely lucky. So it didn't feel as accomplished, but yeah, it did mean a lot to me that I was like, okay, so it does make sense that you need to get lucky and play well to win a calling.
Yeah, it's kind of nice hearing it back that like it is just like a payoff moment for you ultimately, and it is kind of like to some extent I feel like it is the universe paying you back a little bit. Like you've kind of put in the work post like all of this like kind of period of your life, and you've put the work in. Obviously, you know, you've talked a bit about testing processes, etc., and fixing your mentality during your games, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit like kind of that idea of karma. Like you go through and you put the work in, and then you see the payoff at the end, even if it is like in strange forms, like your opponent forgetting his deck on day 2.
Yeah.
It's just kind of crazy, but and yeah, that is also like, I feel like a lot of people can relate to that idea of like having a mental block against somebody. Like even at like a local level, I feel like people always do that. They have like, oh, I could just never beat this guy.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's pretty awesome to hear you like have that like kind of moment on the big stage and then still just overcome it and win the game.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then we obviously see you top 8 Battle Hunt Hong Kong and you win Charleroi, of course, but it's really like kind of your win at London following this that has to be talked about. In like a brand new format as well, which is like makes it like even more impressive. How do you think the launch of Silver Age overall was, and how in tune do you feel the format is following the BNR recently?
Yeah, in Hong Kong I met you, of course, and you borrowed me the deck that allowed me to go to top 8. It was great, the release. The first round of the world premiere, I played a totally new player, so I had to like explain him the game like from the start. He played Fi, so yeah, we just played a few turns, and then he said like, yeah, I just give up, I don't know how to do it, and then I kind of had to teach him the game. And that was great because it was sold out, and it just shows the growth in the game. Again, I didn't build my own deck. I got it from Bartosz again, like in London. And somehow his style of deck building really resonates with me because I just felt so comfortable playing that list. And during cutting itself, I heard Silver Age had like a lot of non-games, and the die roll mattered a lot, and it was like high variance. But yeah, I might be biased, of course, because I had like the luck on my side the whole tournament, of course. But during that tournament, I didn't really feel like I had any non-games. I had like one game where I went first, and I played like a burn-up shock, and I had lightning press, so my opponent took 8 damage. Now, coincidentally, those cards are banned, so that's of course better for the format. I really like it because it allows you to think more about your plays than you would in CC. Since in CC you play so many more turns, they become equally less important. But in Sage you play fewer turns and you need to really think about sequencing and blocking that much more. And I feel like a theme among the top players now is like it's just the format where mistakes are punished the hardest. And of course there's still non-games, don't get me wrong, it's 20 live format, and now I feel like KO might be a bit too strong because you went to the showdown, right? I think there were also 4 KOs in top 8.
Yeah.
Before that also
I think it was 5.
5 even.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's kind of crazy. Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. And also in Toulouse, where I was last week, there were also 4. And while Dash did win that event, I still think like I really hope something changes in the format because it's a bit on the vulnerable side now. But overall I think it's a great idea to get new players on board, and we need it for the growth of the game. But competitively, I'd rather see limited being the main secondary format at the tier 4s.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the more pro crowd are like pretty excited to see Limited come back with Omens of the Third Age and obviously the world premiere in Prague, which I think is obviously going to contribute quite a lot along with Silver Age to get people into the game. So obviously, let's take a step back from Fab now. So you're from the Netherlands. Obviously, we've mentioned that a few times now. Can you give us a picture of like what life is outside of Fab, like in kind of a Dutch sense? Do you think that like the culture and also the kind of environment contributes to your success and personality?
Yeah. So Dutch culture, people usually describe. Well, I mean, Dutch people in general, people describe as being very direct. That's the main thing about Dutch culture, and while that is very nice sometimes because they're honest, it can also be very a bit, they can come across as rude to other people, which is something I really don't want to do. So Dutch culture, people really are judgmental about your lifestyle. And like for me, for example, I'm playing a lot of tournaments, I'm unemployed, I get a lot of judgment from friends sometimes. They're saying like, yeah, well, what are you doing with your life? Come on, why aren't you in university, etc. So I actually think Dutch culture hasn't really helped me across the line, but we are lucky to have a bit of a socialist government usually, so that kind of allows me to live my life. Normally I have to live with my parents, as you just saw, sadly, but it's just I can live a comfortable life. It's okay. I don't. It's kind of a hard question actually. How Dutch culture contributes. Like, of course, I think society in general contributes to any success because you're growing up in society, and I think the directness of the Dutch culture can definitely help you show weaknesses in your game. Because I think for a long time people knew I wasn't the best at my mental game, for example, because I just got very salty or tilted after I lost, and then after I would hear from people like, hey, that's not the way to win. You shouldn't try to get salty. You shouldn't try to not get salty so you can be more stoic during the game. So I guess if I had to contribute anything, I would contribute that.
Yeah, and I definitely think that, like, even talking to you about Fab, I feel like you have a very like easy and concise way to understand what you're kind of trying to discuss and what kind of play you're trying to talk about. And I find that there is something that's very unique, I think, to kind of Dutch culture. I mean, I've lived in the Netherlands, so I understand kind of that directness, but I think it translates really well into the game. And also, I think like sometimes in like other parts of the world, you'll see people like a little bit hung up on decisions or ideas throughout the game, and I feel like sometimes that directness is also probably quite helpful in decision making on like a bit of a micro level.
What did you think about the Dutch culture? Because I don't know.
I think
you told me you lived in the Netherlands, but I don't know if you ever played Flesh and Blood specifically in the Netherlands.
I played the Pro Tour in Amsterdam, so I got to like meet a fair amount of the Dutch community from there. I was a bit strange. I took a bit of a step back from the game while I was in the Netherlands, which is probably a bit of a weird choice right before a Pro Tour. But honestly, I was just enjoying. I was enjoying living there and kind of the university experience, and I had a partner at the time, so I was like, I just kind of like mentally I took a step back and was just kind of like thinking about testing and decks. But in particular, I found like, because I'm someone who like I find it very easy to kind of like brush off any like perceived slight on my end. I like found it very easy to get on with Dutch people, and Belgian people as well. I think have the same kind of stoicism about them, and I found it really easy to kind of understand that and find that part of success when talking to people, and just found it very enjoyable. I really enjoyed my time in the Netherlands. I think I would happily go back.
Yeah, great. Oh, that's great to hear. Because usually what I hear from people is like say that Dutch people are rude, and like they say they're direct, but they're rude. And I mean, I really hope I'm not coming across as rude always. So I tried.
No.
But glad to hear. If you're as confident as you are, you just brush off the maybe too direct comments and just listen to the honesty behind it, I guess. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. So you obviously, speaking of confidence, you obviously make YouTube content, which is something that you've really kind of got to put yourself forward to do. And it's also something that's kind of really rare for someone who's at your kind of like level of play at this stage to do. Do you want to kind of speak about what like kind of inspires you to do that, and what kind of that process of starting that up has been like?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to make content since I played Hearthstone. I always watched like the big streamers on Twitch, and I was like always like really looking up to them. I was like, oh, I hope I can do that at some point. But I never, like, growing up I was always very insecure. I didn't have a lot of friends. So I'd never think about putting a camera in my face and talking to an online audience. That thought seemed super scary to me. But a few years ago I started my channel, and I was just like, okay, I'm having all these thoughts in my head. I want to make content. It needs to be perfect. It needs to be edited the way I have it in my mind. And I was like, this perfectionism and this insecurity is like really holding me back. I should just do the most important thing, and it's just doing it. So my first video, I think I ranted about Oldhim like 20 minutes or something. I don't know if it was anything interesting, but for my own development, it was huge because it was just overcoming my fear of talking to an audience. And I know at the first video I was like struggling to breathe every few takes. And after that, I will notice like, oh, this is actually super fulfilling, and I made a lot more videos. But then I had my break, and then a few, like I think after I won Valencia, I don't know if you know Trade Federations. It's a channel on YouTube from a Scottish creator. And he had me on for an interview about gravy, and after the video he said like, hey man, you made videos in the past, why don't you just start again? And I think I won an RTN with Fang, and he said like, oh, that's just a perfect video opportunity to content about. And so I started with that, and I actually noticed like, oh, I'm like way less nervous because I grown up a lot, so naturally I cared less about what people think of me, and just felt more confident in general. And I was like, oh, this is actually really fun to do and rewarding. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna set myself the goal. I'm gonna make a YouTube video every week because it's something fun to think about, and I'll try to I hope that the audience I'm making my videos for think it's useful, and I'll just try to keep the train going, like I always said in my content. But it's a bit hard to get a subject every week. So I just try to say what's on my mind that week, and so far I don't have writer's block yet. But yeah, I feel like the thing that inspires me to do it is that it's also a bit more lasting. Like in a few years from now, when my results maybe aren't as great, or I like have a slump, I can still have my YouTube channel that I'm getting a lot of rewards from that I don't have inside the game. So I always feel like I'm building something. Which in Flesh and Blood, it sometimes feels like, oh, you're doing a tournament and it goes well, and then you're doing the next one. It feels like this never-ending cycle. Well, with content creation, it actually feels like, oh, I'm building something cool. I'm building a community. I'm getting more subscribers, more views. That's always like a rewarding thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's like it all really kind of ties back to the idea of like the only thing you really need to do to kind of succeed is to try and actually, like, you know, put pen to paper, as it were, and get videos together. And I think that's a really interesting note you tied on at the end, talking about how like Fab is very much like it reminds me a bit of the super team motto. It's like every tournament is just practice for the next one. It's just like, it really is like a never-ending cycle. Whereas like YouTube, it feels like, yeah, you are really like documenting something for, you know, not just like the short term, not just for however long you play the game, but you also like can always go back and like kind of watch these videos and see what this period of your life was like. Like, you know, I'm thinking like 60 years down the line, like showing like my kids like vlogs or something like that, and being like, hey, this is the crazy card game I played when I was a kid and I went around the world doing. Like, I think that's a really special kind of experience, and definitely something about the game and content creation that people don't talk about enough.
Yeah, that's well said. I never really thought about it. It is a very special thing to travel the world for a card game. And yeah, you yourself also have been on the content grind since a long time. I think you put out a ton of videos, and recently watched your vlog as well from Calling Brisbane. So yeah, I heavily respect it, and that's also something I'm trying to do. It's like create a like a kind of brand or something, and community of people that learn from your videos. It's great. I'd recommend it to everyone, content creation.
Yeah. And then obviously we've already touched on this a little bit, but I think it's always something that people need to like feel the need to speak about, and is also just like good to talk about. What kind of parts or aspects of your local scene have kind of contributed to your, not just like your success, but your enjoyment at the game overall? I mean, I think we talked about already, like it's a very homely feeling, your LGS, and it's kind of the concept of a third space has been talked about a lot recently as part of card games. What is that third space kind of like for you?
Yeah, so it's a very homey space, like you said. I love the Dutch Flesh and Blood community. It isn't as big. I think there's like about 100 active players right now, but the level is extremely high. We have like multiple Pro Tour Top 8 players, calling winners, and every pro quest is highly competitive. Like I'll be confident in saying I'm not nearly the best player in the Netherlands. I think there's a lot of people that just don't have the time to play, but are way more talented than me. So yeah, every pro quest is just a great environment to get better, and that helped me a lot in my journey. It's like I'd feel way more scared having to win a pro quest in the Netherlands than having to cash a calling, for example, just because the scene is so competitive. And yeah, the scene is also very supportive of me, which is great. Like there's always a ton of memes when I win something, or like stickers on WhatsApp. So yeah, I really like the sense of belonging that it makes me get, and it allows me to be open with my like open. I mean, like in general, talking about this substance abuse stuff and like my personal life. So yeah, for sure. That aspect has definitely contributed to my success and enjoyment.
And on that note, we've obviously got to give you an opportunity to kind of shout out anyone in the community, but anyone locally, like who you feel really deserves a mention. I know you've mentioned Bartosz a lot throughout this video. Yep. It's kind of interesting to see you guys have like a bit of a dynamic duo going on. Like, you know, he builds the decks, you win the tournaments with them. It's like yeah. kind of wholesome to hear. But is there anybody else that you think you'd like to shout out a bit?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, Team Niet Goed. It's like a group of friends that are also like competitive in Flesh and Blood. That really gave me that sense of belonging as well. I love everyone in them. They're like friends for life. Jasper de Riet, he got me into the game. He gave me that deck with that Viserai deck that got me into the game, and now very fun. We get to go to Yokohama together. So yeah, definitely shout out to him. And yeah, the rest of the community, like there's too many people to shout out individually, but just the whole community in general. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I think that just about wraps us up. I mean, I think this has really turned into a really good insight into your life and kind of your success in Flesh and Blood, but also I think you've done a really amazing job of kind of opening up about your journey with everything. So thank you once again for coming on the channel.
Yeah, thanks as well.
Big, just amazing job overall. And I think we'll definitely be excited to see more from you, both on content and on live. We'll of course have your channel linked below and kind of plugged in somewhere around here now.
Thank you.
But yeah, thanks for coming on once again.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for interviewing me. It's really fun to talk about this stuff.
Thanks for watching, guys. Please give us a like and subscribe if you want to see more content, and obviously please go check out Paul's channel if you want to go see more from him. All right, thanks again.